Welcome into another edition of the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. Tom Leach, along with Keeneland's director of simulcasting, Jim Goodman. Pressure's on you for that half of the podcast because Jonathan Fowler had a couple of winners last week.
Well, he gets lucky every once in a while. I was in Vegas, so I had a couple winners out there. So that was
Good for
okay.
You.
I'm glad he did well.
All right, well, let's start with the Sam F. Davis Stakes, Grade 3 at Tampa Bay Downs, a Kentucky Derby prep for 3-year-old at a mile and a 16th. And I did not have a real strong opinion on this one. Where did you land?
Well, I did have a strong opinion. I went back and watched Ocean Knight at Aqueduct in the maiden special weight in his debut, and I had him circled anyway with out of Curlin. Should love the distance, and that race was only 6 furlongs on the inner, but he ran 1:11 4, won by 4 1/4, and Rod Ortiz was wrapped up on him at the end. So he could have won by 10, so that makes that a 110 and 3 or something like that. The other horse that impressed me was My Johnny Be Good. That race at Tampa, he ran him 109-1. He won by 14.5, and he was wrapped up. So those two horses coming out of the no contest races, I don't know what will happen when they hook up, but I really like Ocean Knight here, and I think it's a 2-horse race. The other horse that I liked on the inside, Catalina Red, but I've got some real questions about whether he really wants to go a mile and a 16th. He's never run past 7.5 on the turf, and he ran 7 furlongs on the dirt last time out, was all out to win. So that probably took a lot out of him. So I'm going with Ocean Knight, the 11 horse for Karen McLaughlin here.
I ended up taking a stand against that one. Probably will regret it, but when I did that, I was looking for some value somewhere else. I ended up coming to the 3, Amy's Flatter. I like the big improvement off the debut. It jumped up to an 89 buyer. That was at a mile. The pedigree says this one should love 2 turns and has had 3 really good works since that debut as a 3-year-old in which he won. So I'm going to take Amy's Flatter, the 3, and use him with Catalina Red, the 1, Royal Sun, the 2, Diving Rod, the 5, and taking a stand against Ocean Knight, mainly a little bit because of the stretch out, but more so because of the post position. But his debut was certainly very impressive, and always had a lot of respect for Karen McLaughlin. Let's go to Santa Anita. 3 graded stakes races there, and we'll start with the 6th, the Grade 2 Palos Verdes at 6 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up. And I went to Secret Circle. Last race was kind of a clunker, an 88 buyer, but that's out of character for him. And he's working like he's ready to bounce back. I think 6 furlongs is his best distance, and he's won 3 times and finished second 3 times on this track, so he clearly really likes Santa Anita. So I'm going to go Secret Circle and use him with, and maybe get hopefully a little value, more so than you would normally get on him for Baffert, and use him with Big Mocker, the 2, Conquest 2-Step, the 3, and Wild Dude, the 5. Your pick?
Yeah, I had a note on here. The only toss to me is Chief Lion, the 6. I think any of the 5 horses inside can win. I went with Distinctive Passion coming out of the same race as Secret Circle because of the post position, and I believe that he has the best speed, and I think Mike Smith is just going to send him. He's never been, on the whole page, he's never been worse than first at either the first or second call or the third call. He's never been out of first place at any of the first 3 calls in his last 10 races. And I don't really see that, unless Big Mocker goes with him, I don't see that there's a lot of other speed in here that are all going to try to stay off him, and I think Mike Smith is good enough to take him wire to wire. I like Big Mocker, and the other horse that I was intrigued, I can make a case for Secret Circle, and I think he just tossed the last race and say he went off at 3-10, and I don't know what happened. He just didn't have it that day. Any of his last 6 or 7 races could win this. The other horse that intrigued me a little bit was Conquest 2-Step, who took a huge move up last time out in the Malibu and only got beat by a neck to a little horse called Shared Belief at 72-1. So Mark Cassey is really doing well on the West Coast, and I think Conquest 2-Step might have a shot in here. I know he has a shot in here with Talamo at a price. So Distinctive Passion is my choice. I would probably key him on top with Conquest 2-Step and everybody else in the 3rd spot.
7th race, Grade 2 Arcadia, 4-year-olds and up on the turf at a flat mile. And we've got some horses that ran on Breeders' Cup Day coming back in here. Who did you take a stand with?
Well, I went with Home Run Kitten. I remember I was standing at Breeders' Cup on Breeders' Cup Day, and there was a guy playing in the BCBC Challenge, and he was between Home Run Kitten and Bobby's Kitten, and he was planning on betting a couple of grand. And he took Home Run Kitten, and Bobby's Kitten, of course, won the race. And he would have been, I think he'd been in first place in the BCBC Challenge. I always remember that. And he liked Home Run Kitten better that day. He came from out of the clouds. He was 13th first two calls. He was almost dead last, and wound up only losing by 4 lengths to Bobby's Kitten. Had a tough trip. Came back and ran well at Santa Anita the last time out. Only got beat at neck, and Telemo takes him back. So I'm going to take Home Run Kitten on top. Kygun is always tough. Zaw Approval is always tough. Cassie has 2 shots here. And the other horse that I kind of liked toward the outside is Talco, the French horse for John Sadler. If you go back, the horse is probably not run up to expectations over here, but if you go back to that last race in France, in a $75,000 stakes race, he had a 106 post rating, and that would probably translate well to about a 93 buyer here. So I think Talco is a shot, but Home Run Kitten is my choice.
I went with Talco. I thought he had a bad trip last time, and his previous 2 races, I thought he was hooking better than he's facing here. So for those 2 reasons, I'm going to take a shot at that race in the last time broke from the 10 hole. So I think you'll get a decent price on this Sadler trainee, and I think he's got a real shot here. I'm going to use him with Home Run Kitten, with the 4 Kygun, and with the 9 Avanzari, but the 7 Talco, my pick in the Grade 2 Arcadia. 8th race, the Las Virgenes, a Grade 1 for 3-year-old fillies going a mile on the road to the Kentucky Oaks. And I took a horse I picked a couple of times last fall, Majestic Presence, and running for Hollendorfer. And I think she won her debut, and then she jumped right into the deep end of the pool, and she just never could beat those top fillies, but she kept moving forward. If you look at her buyer numbers, she's working like she's ready for another move forward. I think this is maybe a little softer bunch than some she faced, and I like the fact that Gary Stevens rode her for the first time, and he's coming back to ride her again. So I'm going to take 6 Majestic Presence, use her with the 9 Miss Mandate, with the 1 Glory, and with the 7 Callback. How about you in the Las Virgenes?
This is a tough one. I can make a case for a lot of them in here, and I do think Maybelline is the one that probably is going to get most of the backing because of that race in the Starlet, only finishing 3/4 of a length behind Takes Charge Brandy. Majestic Presence came out of the same race and was only 2 1/4 lengths back. So I can make a case for those 2, but I'm going to take a couple of horses who I think have a little more upside, and that's Glory, the 1, with Mike Smith for Hollendorfer, and the 7, Callback for Baffert. Those 2 horses have only been out 2 and 3 times, and they each improved substantially off their previous buyers last time out. And I think Smith might be a little bit tough down the rail. There's enough speed in here. I don't think he's going to get a clear lead. So Callback would be probably my choice simply because of the post position. The 7 should be able to track the leaders and probably won't have any excuse to stop the stretch. She may not quite be as seasoned as some of these, but I'm going to take her on top. And then Maybelline I'm going to use underneath her with Majestic Presence. So Callback would be my choice, slightly over Glory.
Good luck with your wagers this weekend, and we'll be back next weekend to take a look at the Saturday stakes races across the country here on the In the Money podcast or KeenelandSelect.com.